Hi, Vavsaya. While animating, I sometimes have some issues, so I thought I might show the solutions I do for that. For example, I have a character body 2D here, and I have an animate it using an animation player. I'm using sprite animation here, and I will link down the asset pack I'm using here. And I have this thing. I'm using the frame property to animate. I've shown it in my previous video. And this frame has schematic like this here, and it's a totally separate sprite. It has the same amount of frames, sometimes can be different as well. So now I want to animate the frame property of it, and I don't want to do it separately for here and separately for the itself, because it just becomes really hassle here. So what I normally do is add a node 2D here. Then I make it the parent of these animation and add a script to it. I'm going to add a script here, and now I'm going to create an export group here just to be organized. I'm going to call it animation, and I would add export variable type int, and I'm going to name it like idle frame or something. And I'm going to create a range here. Range limits it to two numbers. I'm going to range it between 0 and 8, which means 9 frames, which is the frame count of my animation. And now an export property appears here. Now what I'm going to do is set up the frame property, which is what we're used to animate the thing, and we're going to set it to equal to this new variable. Now we go to the animation player, and now we can just animate the property. To calculate how much distance should be between the frames, you can just tell an AI to do it or do the calculations yourself. I just asked the copilot here, and I'm going to just animate it using the exact time codes it gave me. And let's do it really quick. I've done all the 8 animation, and if a line appears like between two keyframes, that means that both of the keyframes are same. Just a little trick there. Now let's set the clip size to the clip size and set it to looping. Now I'm going to add a camera and zoom in, and voila, both of the hair and the body are animated at the same time. We have two things here, so it might not be really useful, but when you have like 8 or 9 different parts, like for example, if I have hair here, I mean the hair on the head, and if you have clothes, shoes, and all of these different stuff, managing the animation really becomes difficult. So you can use this trick. I'm going to create another one for this run animation, use our range from 0 to 7 because it has 8 frames, and do the same thing and animate it using the time codes I got from the copilot. It's a really difficult process, and I find it especially annoying. That's why I use this frame idea, so I don't have to animate it for 2 sprites. So I just do it one time and then it's done. Another cool thing is now I can speed up and down the animation using the code, so I can just multiply the frame rate and stuff like that. So you can just do some mathematical calculation on the idle frame property, and it'll affect the animations. Another big problem I have is visibility. I have 2 animations, idle and run, and only one of them will be visible at one time. So I want them only one to be visible at a time. So what I will do here is I'm going to create an already variable named idle, and I'm going to reference all the sprites linked to the idle animation. We'll do the same for the run animation, anything that's linked to the animation that you want to be visible. Now I'm going to create another export group, and I'm going to call it visibility. Then I'm going to create an enumeral. Enumerables are basically, I really don't know what they are. I mean, I'm going to make a explanatory video on enumerables. It basically just stores a bunch of text, and I think it's hard to explain for me. I'm going to make a full separate video. I'm planning to make a lot of these guys videos, so stay tuned for that. So I'm going to make an export variable of the type enumeral. It's possible you can create an enumeral and then create an export variable based on that. I will link dash nothing video which explains the properties of export here. Then I'm going to create a for loop, and I'm going to use node here, and in what I'm going to do is we're going to combine the value of all of the references there, I mean the frames there. So you have all of the reference there, and what we are going to do is make all of these invisible. So essentially the concept is that you make all of the animations and frame invisible, and then make those you want to be visible. I think it's quite easy. We do that by creating if statement for the enumeral. So we're going to check if the enumeral is equal to that which we set up in the inspector, and then we just set the variable we created, which is the visible array, and we're going to make it visible. I'm going to link down all of the code so you can just use it yourself and understand. My explanations are kind of bad. Now it's super simple. Now you need to call the frame here, I mean the function there, and yeah, it's working. If you test, only the animation you have selected here works, I mean it's visible. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an animation for that. So we create a new track for that property and set it to the animation. For idle, we set the visible animation to idle, and just like that. And you can do that for all of the animations you have. I'm going to set up another animation just to demonstrate. This time I'm going to set up the walk animation. Let's rename it, set the frame property and other kind of stuff. And okay, I actually messed up the number of frames. It has 8 number of frames, 9. Yeah, it gets 9 frames. Now I'm going to create another already variable for this. It's a type array with the nodes, and we're going to reference the walk and here and the walk itself. Then going to add this to this plus. We add a plus and then name of the variable there. To make it all invisible, we add another if statement, and we copy and paste that there, and that's basically it. We also add to the enumeral there. Now we can test it, and it should be working. I think it's messing up due to the animations there, so I'm going to set up a new animation for that. Let's create a new animation, call it walk, and let's add a track here and let's animate it to be walk. So now if we run, only the walk animation shows up. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's it for today's video. If you want to support my work and get the project files for this tutorial, you'll get them for free on my Patreon, but you can support me to get some additional files or for future tutorials, or get early access to all the files. So you can support me on Patreon. Please do that. And yeah, that's it for today's video. Goodbye.